What's up, guys? Today we're going over the Vex Mythoclast, which is absolutely crazy this season because of particle reconstruction. And just like the first season that artifact model was around, this scene is kind of a must use. So in this video we're going to be going over two builds that really take advantage of this weapon this season. And one of them is going to be kind of like a remake of the one I used in the first season this model was around. And that is on Titan. So starting off with the Vex, if you don't know how this works, there's basically two mechanics. The first one is Final Blows will charge up a alternate firing mode, which is a linear fusion shot, and then while in full auto, Final Blows will give a damage increase. And that damage increase is going to be a 20% increase for 5 seconds. There's no timer, but that is roughly how long it lasts. And one thing to note is that it only applies to the full auto damage, not the linear damage. But for just Ackler, obviously 20% is very nice. Then as you get Final Blows, you will charge up the linear fusion shots, and when you do, you have 3 shots of that. There's gonna be a lot of stuff we can do to increase the damage. First being particle. Particle's gonna be a 27.6% debuff for linears and fusions, and they did correct it to not stack with other things in the game, and it actually is bugged with div currently. But just for the Vex, that'll be really nice still. So we have a debuff. What about a buff? Well, we can use Radiant on Solar or Prismatic with torches, where our powered melee hits will give us Radiant. It will now be a 20% buff, which will stack with particle, obviously. So we have a buff and debuff. Well, we can also use weapon surges. On Titan, we can use the Path of Burning Steps, the exotic I used in the original build, where Solar Final Blows have a chance to give you 1 stack of solar weapon damage increase, and your grenade will actually give you the full stacks of 4 right away. Usually with surges, you can only use 3 at a time because that's all you can fit on your boots. But with this, you can go up to 4, and 4 is going to be a 25% increase that will stack with Radiant and Particle Reconstruction. Taking the damage number of a linear to this on Carl, 119,000, and the damage on red bars with everything going on is going to be 10.8 thousand without particle. If it was a higher health red bar enemy where you could actually stack up particle reconstruction, it would obviously go even higher. So again, at the DPS with the full auto and the linear 3 shots, for a primary weapon with truly infinite ammo, it's going to be quite a lot. The full auto on red bars is 87.7 thousand, and for the linear firing mode, 114,000 versus majors and bosses. So that is quite a lot. The full auto mode is basically a primary LMG, and the linear is right up there with some of the best linears in the game. And a lot of this combo is just going to always be there. With torches for Radiant, we can also use Empyrean. Our solar weapon or ability Final Blows will extend the duration of Restoration and Radiant. And the way we're going to get Restoration in this build is be with Soul Invictus, where the solar ability Final Blows or Hammer of Soul hits will create a sunspot, and being in that sunspot will give you Restoration. And since we have Restoration and Radiant in this build, we can take advantage of another fragment to increase the duration of both. The other aspect I'm using is Roaring Flames. It doesn't really matter. There isn't a great choice in that slot. The build's going to be mostly just using Vex. And finally, we also have Tempering. You can really use whatever 4th fragment you want. This one will just give us a boost to recovery. And the mods on this build, once again, aren't too important. You just really need a Solar Siphon, Solar Reloader, and the rest is kind of whatever. The entire build, once again, is just kind of just using the Vex like a machine gun and the linear shots for single target damage. I will link this build down below. The one that I do like to use is, once again, a sidearm or a sniper with Choke Clip. That's because both are anti-barrier this season, and Choke Clip can do Overload and Unstoppable. The Vex is also unstoppable through the artifact this season, and I like to run a Cataclysmic because it's solar and gets all the buffs that the Vex will. And with all this stuff going on, the linear fusion mode can one-hit champions all the way up to about 20-ish below. If you're like 25 or more, it won't be one-hit anymore, which really isn't that big a deal. You have 3 linear shots every time you proc that mode, so you don't need to be one-hitting champions. It's just kind of cool when it does. And if you're playing in a fire team, like in a GM, you're going to do 1 shot, your teammates are going to hit them with something, and they're just going to die. So yeah, this build is just really strong. It's just all about the Vex. That is truly a primary machine gun and a primary linear fusion at the exact same time. I don't know what else you could really ask for. You know, great Heckler and great single target damage just from a single primary. The only thing about this build is you have Restoration ×1, not ×2. I wish there was a way to get ×2 going on the subclass on Titan. So instead, you could swap over to a Warlock for the combination of Heat Rises plus Phoenix Dive. When you have Heat Rises proc, the Phoenix Dive will actually give you Restoration ×2. And if we take advantage of the same fragment combo we did on Titan to extend the duration of Radiant and Restoration, get Radiant through our powered melee, and then Empyrean to refresh the timers of both, If you eat your grenade, get heat rises procced, do the Phoenix Dive, and then get final blows, you'll have restoration ×2 and radiant, just like we did on Titan. So this could be a better build overall. The only thing you're giving up is solar weapon boost ×4, and if you just run 3 solar weapon surges on your boots, you get ×3, so you're not going to be losing that much damage overall. Plus you're gaining restoration ×2, so it could definitely be a better build. There's a little bit more setup involved, where Titan is just kind of like just use the weapon and you kind of get everything going. And on Warlock, you go the route of Sunbracers. Sunbracers will be really nice to constantly have your melee and have multiple grenades to proc heat rises. And with that, obviously you're going to be using solar grenades, or you could go the route of Verities for the double fusion grenade damage, which is pretty nice. Once again, I will link the Sunbracer build down below. It's kind of like just the old classic. The only change is really, instead of using melee kickstart, you're using triple solar weapon surge. In this build, while the damage of Vex is a little bit lower and there's a little bit more setup to get the restoration going, it definitely has better accurate potential with Sunbracers, or an ability that does a lot of single target damage. Also, if you go the route of Verities, compared to Titan, where it's just pretty much just solely about using the Vex. But either way, both builds are extremely strong. Vex is just really, really strong right now, and you don't need to be using Vex in one of these builds to make it good. I mean, even without Radiant, without the solar weapon boost, just from Particle alone, it's one of the highest DPS primaries in the game versus red bars, and the linear mode is just great single target damage. So yeah, if you haven't been using Vex this season, definitely give it a try. It is definitely worth using, and is easily one of the hardest hitting primaries in the game right now. Anyways, the rest of the video will just be some gameplay from the Lost Sector the other day. In this gameplay, I think I'm 26 under, and I'm still just chewing through all the red bars, almost one-hitting the champion still, and yeah, just really good. Like usual, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.